Welcome to Stories by Rushik podcast.
So glad to be here for this one.
So I have a question for you listening right now. Have you ever, poured your absolute heart into helping someone see reason?
Oh, I think we all have at some point.
Right. I mean, you really put in the work.
Yeah.
You plotted out your entire argument. You used the gentlest, most compassionate tone you could possibly muster.
You probably rehearsed it in the car on the way there.
Exactly. You rehearsed it, you brought receipts, and you presented it all with nothing but love, only to watch them walk away completely untouched by your efforts.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Like you were literally speaking to a brick wall.
It is an incredibly draining experience. I mean, It's the kind of emotional exhaustion that keeps you up at 2 a.m, you know?
Oh, totally. Staring at the ceiling.
Right, just replaying the conversation in your head over and over, wondering what exact word you got wrong or if you just came off too aggressive.
Yeah.
It genuinely makes you question your own sanity.
It really does.
Yeah.
Which is why today we're looking at a frankly brilliant piece titled Not Everyone Listens to Logic or Love by Rushik.
Such a fantastic essay.
It really is. And alongside his thought leadership on this, we're going to bring in some established psychological frameworks on human communication.
Right, to kind of ground it.
Exactly. Because our mission today is to figure out exactly why flawless logic fails, why unconditional love doesn't magically change people's minds, and most importantly, how we can stop burning ourselves out.
Yes, the burnout is so real.
How to stop forcing people to see the light when they just don't want to.
And that burnout, it's universal. What his essay does so effectively, I think, is it shifts that struggle from a feeling of personal failure to a much more practical and frankly liberating perspective.
Liberating is the perfect word for it.
Right. He really breaks down the mechanics of why our messages just bounce off certain people with this incredible wit and unique perspective.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I know you, listening right now, have someone in your life who fits this description perfectly.
Oh, we all do. We all have that one person.
We walk around with this entirely false assumption that if we just find the magic combination of syllables, we can control how our message is received.
Yeah, like it's a cheat code in a video game or something.
Exactly. We think finding the exact right words can somehow pick the lock on any closed mind.
We absolutely do think that way. And the reason we get trapped in this mindset is because we tend to view communication as a simple input-output transaction.
Right.
Think of it like a vending machine. We subconsciously believe that if we input the correct currency...
Which in this case would be like ironclad logic and boundless empathy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We put that in, and we think the machine is obligated to dispense the outcome we want, which is understanding and agreement.
But human psychology does not operate like a vending machine.
It really doesn't.
So why doesn't it? I mean, if the logic is objectively true and the delivery is super kind, what is the mechanism that causes a person to just completely reject it?
Well, it comes down to cognitive dissonance and ego defense.
Okay, break that down for us.
When you present someone with logic that contradicts a deeply held belief or, say, a behavioral pattern, they really rely on.
Even a toxic one.
Right, even a toxic one. Accepting your logic means they have to admit they have been wrong. It means they have to change.
And people hate change.
They despise it. The human ego will do almost anything to protect itself from the pain of that realization. So it builds a massive wall.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
And the essay introduces a very grounded, natural analogy to explain this state. Basically, sometimes the soil is simply not ready for the seed.
Oh, I love that. It's like planting a tomato seed in frozen December ground and getting furiously angry at the seed for not growing.
Yes.
You are out there in the freezing cold, holding a watering can, just screaming at the dirt. Like, why aren't you growing? I bought the premium seed. I read all the gardening books.
The seed is perfectly fine.
Exactly. The seed is fine. The environment is just utterly hostile right now.
What's fascinating here is how immediately that imagery shifts the focus. When you imagine yourself standing in the snow yelling at a patch of dirt, you realize the absurdity of the situation.
You look ridiculous.
You do. You wouldn't blame your gardening skills, and you wouldn't blame the seed. You would look at the calendar and realize it is literally winter.
Right.
This concept completely moves the blame away from your communication skills, away from your tone, your vocabulary, your intelligence.
And places it where?
It places the focus entirely on the environmental readiness of the recipient. If their internal season is winter, your springtime seed cannot take root.
To put that into like a real-world scenario for a second, think about trying to tell a friend that their romantic partner is entirely toxic.
Oh, the classic dilemma.
Right. You can have text screenshots, you can have a spreadsheet of bad behavior, you can deliver it over a nice dinner with a hug.
You can do everything right.
Everything. But if they aren't ready to leave that relationship, they don't get mad at the partner, they get mad at you.
Precisely. Because the logic you are offering is a direct threat to the reality they are currently relying on to survive their day-to-day life.
Wow.
Their internal soil is frozen solid.
And since we are talking about the environment mattering more than the seed, or, the listener mattering more than the speaker, I want to look at the mythological example used in the text.
It's such a brilliant example.
It is, because it perfectly answers that nagging voice in our heads that says, well, maybe I'm just not persuasive enough.
Yes. The essay brings in a powerful narrative to completely disprove the idea that ultimate communication skills equal ultimate persuasion.
Exactly. So Rushik introduces the story of Krishna speaking to Duryodhana.
Right.
Now, regardless of your cultural background, just understand that in this specific context, Krishna represents the most skillful, enlightened communicator imaginable.
He is the absolute pinnacle of wisdom and perfect intention.
Right. There is literally no better speaker. And Krishna shares his immense wisdom with Duryodhana on multiple occasions. He doesn't just try once. He tries repeatedly.
Over and over.
And what happens? Every single time, Duryodhana dismisses him. He doesn't just disagree, he overtly disrespects him.
And the contrast presented in the text is what makes the point so concrete.
Tell me about Arjun.
So another figure, Arjun, listened to the exact same wisdom from Krishna. Just once.
Just one time.
Just one time. And that single conversation transformed Arjun's entire existence.
That's wild.
If we look at the variables in that equation, it becomes very clear. It was the same Krishna, it was the same pure intention, it was the exact same profound wisdom.
The message didn't change at all.
Not one bit. The only variable that changed was the listener.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The conclusion on this is very sharp, right? To truly receive profound wisdom, one must first become Arjun.
Yes.
Meaning, you can't just passively be handed wisdom. You have to actively be in a state of readiness to receive it.
You have to want it.
You must be curious, you must be open, and you must be ready to change. If you are not in that state, you are just Duryodhana, swatting away the greatest advice in the universe like it's an annoying mosquito.
That is the core reality of human interaction right there.
Yeah.
The receiver fundamentally dictates the value of the message.
Ooh, say that again.
The receiver dictates the value of the message. You can hold out a golden key, but it is entirely useless if the person you hand it to insists on staring at a blank wall instead of looking for a door.
Yeah.
The readiness to learn is a strict prerequisite for the learning to actually occur.
Okay, so wait, I have to challenge this a little bit.
Go for it.
If the readiness is entirely on them, does this mean we should just immediately give up?
I see what you're saying.
Like if I'm talking to a family member or a coworker and they are acting like a Duryodhana, they aren't instantly curious, they aren't totally open, should I just walk away and stop talking to them entirely?
It feels harsh.
It feels incredibly cold, especially if it's someone you actually love and care about.
That is a very fair pushback, and it is crucial to clarify the difference between giving up and gaining perspective.
Okay, what's the difference?
It is not about abandoning people the second they show resistance. It is about recognizing the reality of their current state and adjusting your own internal expectations so you don't literally break yourself in the process.
Okay.
It is the difference between offering someone a glass of water and trying to force it down their throat while they are actively clenching their jaw.
Which would just be a mess.
Right. You can leave the glass on the table for them, but you have to stop bruising your own hands trying to pry their teeth apart.
I am really glad you brought up the idea of bruising your own hands, because that emotional burnout is so real.
It really is.
I want to talk about the burden of feeling like a failure, because I think you, listening right now, might be carrying a lot of that weight.
I think most caring people do.
Right. When we try to reach someone and they just flat out refuse to understand, we turn that inward. We falsely view it as a failure of our own clear logic, or even worse, a failure of our genuine love.
We take it so personally.
We do. We think, oh, if I just loved them more, if I was just a better parent or a better friend, they would definitely hear me.
Which is a heartbreaking assumption to make, and it causes so much unnecessary suffering.
Totally unnecessary.
Rushik points out that this exhaustion comes from a place of deep, genuine caring, but it is ultimately a misplaced sense of responsibility.
It's not on us.
No, it's not. When someone refuses to understand, it is not a failure of your logic, and it is certainly not a failure of your love. It is merely a clear mismatch of readiness.
A mismatch of readiness. I like that phrasing.
And the text uses this gorgeous, vivid imagery to bring this home. You cannot force a beautiful blossom to open before its natural season arrives.
That imagery is so poignant. If you try to pry open a flower bud with your bare hands just because you are impatient for it to bloom, you don't get a beautiful flower.
Not at all.
You just destroy the petals. You completely ruin the very thing you were trying to coax into the light.
Precisely. You mutilate the bloom. And there is a real psychological principle at play here called reactance. Yeah, reactance. When people feel that their autonomy or their freedom to choose is being threatened even by someone who clearly means well, they will react by digging their heels in deeper.
Oh, wow. So we make it worse.
Often, yes. When we hammer someone with logic they aren't prepared to hear, or smother them with interventions they haven't asked for, we trigger that reactance.
We actually damage the relationship in the process.
We really do. We create resentment. True wisdom is realizing that forcing the issue destroys both the connection you share and the inherent value of the message you are trying to deliver.
Think about trying to convince an aging parent that it is time for them to stop driving.
Oh, that is such a tough one.
It is an incredibly highly charged emotional situation. You are doing it entirely out of love. You have the SACI data. You have logic fully on your side.
Everything aligns perfectly on paper.
Right. But if you approach it by forcefully trying to pry the keys out of their hands before they have internally reckoned with their loss of independence, the conversation turns explosive.
It becomes a battle.
Exactly. You end up doing more harm than good, all while convincing yourself you were just being helpful.
It is a tough reality to accept, realizing that your aggressive help might actually be the hands tearing the petals.
Yeah, that stings a bit.
But once you accept that you cannot control their timeline, it is incredibly freeing. It relieves you of the impossible job of managing someone else's internal growth.
Which brings us to the actual architecture of a graceful exit.
Yes, the practical application.
Because having let go of that guilt, the source material actually provides a very specific action plan for dealing with the people we care about deeply. It doesn't just leave us hanging with abstract philosophy.
No, it gives a concrete prescription for how to handle these heavy interpersonal dynamics moving forward.
Right. And the prescription is this. Please do try to persuade the people you care deeply about. We aren't saying become entirely apathetic.
Of course not. Don't just walk away instantly.
Exactly. Offer them solid evidence. Offer them endless patience. Give them absolutely everything you have within you. Lay it all out on the table with as much love and clarity as you possess.
But then, and this is the crucial pivot in his perspective, you must do exactly what Krishna did after he gracefully finished speaking with Arjuna.
What's that?
You must let them choose their own path freely. You make the offering, and then you completely detach from their reaction to it.
So what does this all mean for us today, practically speaking? Because we aren't standing on ancient battlefields delivering epic poetry, right?
No, usually we're just in our kitchens.
Right. We are sitting in coffee shops or in our living rooms or on Zoom calls trying to get someone to see that they're making a terrible mistake.
Yeah.
And the author brings up this witty, incredibly modern analogy to explain how we should view this detachment. He says you cannot give someone an upgrade to a software system they are not yet ready to install.
It is the perfect modern equivalent. It really is.
I love it.
Think about how a computer operating system works. If the hardware is completely outdated, or if their internal system is riddled with defensive firewalls, your brilliant, cutting-edge software update is just going to crash the system.
It'll just fail.
It will bounce right off. They have to click accept on the terms and conditions of their own growth before the installation can even begin.
Yeah.
You cannot click that button for them no matter how much you want to.
You really can't. You're just sitting there watching the progress bar freeze at 1%, getting more and more frustrated while they're perfectly content running on the old glitchy software.
Exactly.
You have to let them realize the system is broken on their own time. They have to experience the glitches themselves.
And this raises an important question, though. How do you actually know when to stop trying to force the update? How do you test the soil to see if it's still winter?
Oh, that is the million-dollar question. Because we always want to try just one more time.
Always. A good psychological metric is to observe how they respond to your logic.
Okay, look for their reaction.
Right. If they start attacking your tone or deflecting with unrelated past grievances instead of addressing the actual argument you were making.
Oh, the classic, well, you didn't say it nicely.
Exactly. That is a clear indicator that their defense mechanisms are fully engaged. The soil is frozen, which leads to the final and perhaps most striking metaphor from the text.
Let's hear it.
The writer states, "Some heavy doors truly only open from the inside."
Oh, wow. That creates such a visceral image.
Think about the physical mechanics of that. I want you, the listener, to pause and really visualize that scenario right now.
Yeah, picture it.
Imagine a massive, solid oak door bound in heavy iron. You are standing on the outside and you are throwing your entire body weight against it.
Just ramming into it.
Yes, you are pushing with your shoulders, your feet are slipping on the floor, you are exhausted, sweating, crying, just begging the door to yield. But on the inside of that room, someone has thrown a deadbolt.
No matter how hard you push, all you were going to get is a bruised shoulder.
Exactly, because the mechanism for opening that door literally does not exist on your side. It only exists on theirs.
That is so powerful.
It really is. I would ask you to reflect on your own life right now. What are the heavy doors you are currently exhausting yourself trying to push open from the outside?
Who are the people behind those doors?
And how much of your own peace are you sacrificing in this futile effort to break down a barrier that can only be unlocked by the person sitting safely on the other side?
That is a staggering thing to realize. We spend years pushing against doors that do not have handles on the outside.
Years. Decades sometimes.
We wear ourselves down to nothing, and then we feel guilty that we aren't strong enough to break the door down. But it was never a test of our strength.
Never.
It was never a test of our love or our communication skills. It was always a question of their willingness to turn the lock.
And that brings us to the ultimate summary of the responsibility presented in this source material. Once you recognize that the door only opens from the inside, your job changes completely. Your job is simply to gently slide the key under the door.
Oh, I love that.
You offer the information, the love, the logic. You let them know you are there. And then you step away peacefully.
You don't stand there jiggling the handle.
You do not wait by the door. You do not pound on the wood. You walk away without carrying unnecessary burdens inside your soul today. You leave them the agency and the dignity to pick up the key when they are finally ready.
It is a radical act of acceptance to just let people be where they are, even when it hurts to watch.
Truly.
And it leaves me with this final thought for you to just mull over as you go about your day. Think about what you could do with all that reclaimed energy.
So much energy.
If you take all the hours, all the tears, all the late night overthinking, all the frustration you spent throwing your weight against locked doors, and you pull that energy back into your own life, what could happen?
It's a beautiful question.
If you finally stop exhausting yourself trying to force seeds to grow in the winter soil of closed minds, what beautiful, vibrant things could you be planting for yourself in the spring?
Incredible thought to end on.
Thank you for listening to Stories by Ruchik podcast. For more such podcasts, follow Stories by Ruchik on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Prime Music, and YouTube.